Hi there, it's Deborah Irene with Storytime today, and I have been reading to you for quite some time from my mother's book, Helen's Heritage, trying to honor her siblings that we write about in the back of her book. It has been 3 months since I have done a reading, and I'm coming to you today on Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, 2022. And I'll explain, first of all, why it's been 3 months since I've read a story to you. You may recall the last story that we read. We did a live video with our Aunt Eunice because she is still with us, still alive at 98 years old. She's going to celebrate her 99th birthday in January, and we wanted to get her on tape for everybody. And my sisters were all there. We did it from my sister's house. We did it live. We didn't edit it, and there were a couple of funny things that happened during that video. I'm so glad we were able to do that and honor Aunt Eunice, my mother's sister, Eunice Rebecca. But you know what? We didn't know what was going to happen just a few weeks after that. And I want to share that with you. So today on Thanksgiving Day, I'm giving thanks for my family and the heritage on both sides of my family. I'm thankful for my mother and the history that she told and that we wrote about in her book, Helen's Heritage. And I know that many of you are hurting today on Thanksgiving Day, and it may be difficult for you to give thanks. And we've had some tragedy in our family, some unexpected tragedy. It's life. Just that happened just a few short weeks after we taped that video. My brother-in-law, my sister Vicky's husband, had heart surgery, and we were expecting him to come through that, and he did just fine. And then a few days after his surgery, his heart just stopped, and we lost him. And so that was a huge loss for our family. It was an unexpected loss, and we have been grieving over that. But I want you to know today that if he were here with us, he would tell you that he is just fine in the presence of his Savior, Jesus Christ. And while we're grieving over the holidays for that loss, and we weren't expecting it, which makes it even harder, he would tell you to still give thanks and still hope. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to remember another sibling in the Herbert clan. And we're going to read about that. Now, I want to mention that Aunt Eunice was the 11th child and 6th daughter. And then the next sibling we have already read about. Willard Benton, and he was called Benton. He only lived to be 8 years old, as I recall. Right before his 8th birthday, he just died of appendicitis. And we read about him when we read about the other baby sibling, Dorothy Luella, who passed away at just 3 months old as well. So today we're going to read about another one of my mother's sisters, Sylvia Louise. Here are some pictures of her. Let's read about Sylvia. Sylvia Louise, only called Louise, was born during a leap year and on leap day, February 29th, 1928. Now, how many times does that happen? It was awkward having an official birthday only once every 4 years, so she listed February 28th as her birth date in her adult years and on most formal documents. She was the 13th child, 7th daughter, and the girl closest in age to me. She was my mentor and took care of me on a day-to-day basis, especially after Eunice got married. She was my best buddy all my life. She taught me how to cook, but wouldn't let me do very much in the kitchen when we were growing up, like peel potatoes, because I peeled them too thick and wasted too much of the potato. Eventually, I did learn. She was good at many things and taught me a lot. Again, I'll remind you this is my mother speaking, not me. She could play ball as good as the boys, but the thing she loved to do the most was read. I wanted to do other things and would get aggravated at her for not wanting to go outside. She preferred to curl up and escape in a book. When I got older, I understood. She took care of me and watched over me. Most of all, she would not let me forget Mama and kept my hope alive that I would get to live with her someday. After she moved away from home, I didn't have sisters to help me, just brothers, so I became a bit of a tomboy. I missed her. I'm going to stop there for a minute and tell you that we're just reading some things specific about Louise, but because she was so close to my mother's age, if you have the book and read in earlier parts of the book, Louise is mentioned several times in this book. This is just a summary of her. When my dream came true and I finally got to move to California to live with Mama, she already lived there. I went to her house first and stayed with her for a short period of time because Mama was working in Ojai. That seems fitting that I went there first. I could talk to Louise about anything. She understood and gave me good advice on different things, especially advice on people in California. She wasn't bossy. She just tried to help. She lived with me and Mama for a brief period of time at one point. If she was out for the evening, it didn't matter what time it was. She always went into Mama's bedroom and kissed her goodnight. Sometimes I thought she should not bother Mama if Mama was asleep, but Louise did it every night, kissed her goodnight, no matter the time. She really loved Mama. She was married a couple of times, but was with Lloyd Faulkner for the longest period of time. He was a part of our family for life. She had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Louise and Lloyd were in California raising their family. At the same time, Charles and I were there. We had many family gatherings at their home, and our children were close cousins during those years. I think she loved my girls as much as I did. Sadly, she was estranged from us later in life and had some rough times. I loved her and always hated to hear anyone say anything negative about her. She would go away into herself and by herself. She escaped the way she did with her books as a young girl. I stayed in touch with her by telephone every year or 2. The last time we spoke on the phone, she was in the hospital. It was just a couple of days before she died. We talked about her soul and eternity. She said, "I'll be okay, sis." She died on April 9, 1990, in Porterville, California, and was buried there. I was sorry I could not go to California for her funeral. Her children took care of the arrangements and were there. I will always remember her as a stunning dark beauty and will never forget the role she played in giving me hope for a future with Mama. I love you, sis. You are still in my heart. And her 4 children were Gary Wayne, and he was born in 1946 and passed away in 2019. Kelly B, unfortunately, didn't live a long life. He was born in 1953 and passed away at about the age of 47 in the year 2000. And that was an unexpected loss as well. Her two daughters are still alive, Terry Ann and Carla Jo. And I would like to say, as a niece of Louise, and to say to Carla and to Terry, how much that your mother meant to me and to my sisters growing up in California. I'll just tell you a couple of things that I remember about Louise. She was beautiful, as my mother said. My mother had blonde hair and blue eyes, and Louise had dark hair and dark eyes. But in many ways, they also looked a lot alike. They were both beautiful women. And Louise had beautiful clothing and had such good taste. I remember a sweater that she had that was just beautiful. It was a cardigan, and it was trimmed in some fur along here. And when my mother went to California for her from California to Missouri for her brother Carl's funeral, it was in October. We'll be reading about that next. She borrowed that sweater from Louise, and I just thought it was a beautiful sweater. And when Mother got home, I said, "Mom, did you get to wear that sweater?" And she said, "It was too warm in October," and she didn't get to wear it. So I remember her beautiful clothes and the way she dressed. But I also remember the times that she and Mother spent together just taking care of their children. I remember one Easter, we traveled, it was about a 30-minute drive to their house, and we traveled over there. And Louise had this church she thought we should try for Easter Sunday. So we were all dressed up, and they took pictures before we got in the car to leave. And the sun was so bright, and we were squinting, but we all had our Sunday bests on, and we got lost trying to find the church and arrived a little bit late. But we finally did get there. And I remember that she and Lloyd hosted many of our family gatherings in California, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter at their house, because they had a nice 3-bedroom house in a suburb, and always opened it up for the family. I remember those times. I remember her babysitting me many times and spending the night over there with the family. So Terry and Carla, I want you to know that we loved Aunt Louise, and my mother loved her sister, Sylvia Louise, whom we all called Louise. And I want to say again that today is Thanksgiving, and I'm thankful for my mother and my family, and for her book that has all of this rich history and heritage written down for us. Again, it's Deborah Irene reading from my mother's book, Helen's Heritage, Story Time, on Thanksgiving Day 2022.